The Las Vegas Raiders have concluded their preseason game against the Miami Dolphins. Jonathan Hankins balling out in the run game for the Las Vegas Raiders. Back-to-back plays where this guy just straight up stuffed the run, and it was crazy to even see him on the field. We did not see Bilal Nichols on the field for the Raiders, but we did see Jonathan Hankins, and Jonathan Hankins and Bilal Nichols recently came off the PUP list, and it seems like the head coach Josh McDaniels and defensive coordinator Patrick Graham wanted to get a look at Hankins in the preseason to see what they got if he's ready to go after being on the PUP list. And Hankins delivered. And another player who did deliver was Jonathan Abram. Jonathan Abram laying the wood perfectly on this tight end in order to cause the incompletion. Jonathan Abram has had a great preseason so far, showing how he can be utilized blitzing a couple times for the Raiders. And really, Patrick Graham has been playing to Jonathan Abram's strength, and we might see the best season for this guy yet so far if he can stay healthy. Tyron Johnson was the star on the offensive side of the ball. Him and Keelan Cole racked up tons of receptions in the first part of the game. Tyron Johnson making tons of plays after the catch, really trying to show this coaching staff that he has the extra effort, the extra will inside of him to make the difference in a football game. But the biggest story for the Raiders was Alex Leatherwood being benched in the second quarter of the game. Nick Mullins was going to be killed unless Alex Leatherwood was benched, and that's what the Raiders decided to do. The Raiders decided to have Jackson Barton slide over to left tackle in the second quarter, take Alex Leatherwood out, and put Jermaine Illuminor at that right tackle position. And one key thing for everybody to know right now is Thayer Mumford, the 7th round pick out of Ohio State, did not play in this game. Several starters, several players, about 30 players for the Las Vegas Raiders did not play in this game at all. People like Devontae, Derek Carr, the obvious ones, but you did not see Thayer Mumford, and that tells WiFiWillie that Thayer Mumford is going to be the starting right tackle for the Raiders this year. And the fact that Leatherwood was pulled in the second quarter just does not bode well for his future, not only with the Las Vegas Raiders, but for any NFL team this year. Leatherwood would eventually return to the game in the third and fourth quarter to help compete with the third string offensive line, but it's really sad to see that kind of decline for Alex Leatherwood. Jermaine Illuminor ahead of him on the depth chart clearly for the right tackle position, and there's no way the Raiders can really get out of Alex Leatherwood. Alex Leatherwood, the first round pick in 2021, he has an $11.7 million dead cap hit, only freeing up $3.2 million in cap if released. So really, there's no way the Raiders can get out of his contract this year without losing tons of cap, or even next year. Next year, they would also lose $4.5 million in cap space if they get rid of Leatherwood. So this guy has to work out somewhere on this team this year or next year. Dylan Parham also had some action at left guard, and you saw him playing at the left guard position ahead of John Simpson. John Simpson came in a little bit later for the Las Vegas Raiders at that left guard, and then you saw Parham switch to center. So that shows that he's rising in this depth chart. If I were to project the starting offensive line week 1 for the Las Vegas Raiders, it's going to be Colton Miller, Dylan Parham, Andre James, Lester Cotton Sr., and then you'll have Thayer Mumford Jr. at that right tackle spot. So not the greatest O-line that we wanted. We really made no roster changes to the O-line this year. We re-signed Illuminor, Brandon Parker, but we did not actually add anybody new besides Dylan Parham. He was the only person we really added to this offensive line this past offseason. For the wide receiver position, you did not see Mac Hollins in the game, so he's quite possibly just a lock, a straight up starter for the wide receiver position. Keelan Cole, Tyron Johnson had both great games. Keelan Cole had a great game in particular, tons of catches on the run, and these two guys seem also like a lock to make this roster. The question is, did DJ Turner do enough to stand ahead of Justin Hall and Isaiah Zuber? You also have Chris Lacey in the mix. Dylan Stoner has been pretty inactive. You didn't see him in the game at all. So really it was a competition between DJ Turner, Hall, Zuber, and Lacey. I thought DJ Turner is obviously the best player out of all these guys, so I think he's probably going to make the 53-man roster if the Raiders keep 6 wide receiver spots. The linebacker position was on display as well. You did not see J.M. Brown, Diablo, or Perryman at all in this game. You just saw the bottom half of the roster, really. Bolton, Butler, Masterson. Masterson really had some trouble because he was taken out in the beginning of the game with an injury. And you saw Bolton get the safety on Teddy Bridgewater. That was a dope play. We'll have to take a closer look at the film to see, is it enough to make the 53-man roster? But Butler and Bolton and Masterson All these guys played really well today. I think this is going to be a really tough decision for Antonio Pierce. You have tons of guys who looked great in this game. Who do you pick? And Trayvon Mullen actually did not play in this game. He was a healthy scratch. He was one of the people who they decided not to even have attend this game. Rocky Sin and Anthony Avery, you saw both of those guys on the field. No Nate Hobbs on the field as well, so they really wanted to get a close look at Rocky Sin, Anthony Avery. This tells me that Trayvon Mullen is probably a little higher on the depth chart if they felt like they didn't need to get any looks at him and they wanted to get a look at Avery and Rocky Sin. Which of these two guys is going to be in the starting lineup? There can only be 3 cornerbacks in the starting lineup. We know Nate Hobbs is a lock. Trayvon Mullen's stock seems to be rising. The question is, Avery, could he fight off Rocky Sin? He barely came back from injury. And in the running back room, you saw a lot of Kenyon Drake, a lot of Britton Brown, a lot of Zamir White in the beginning, and Kenyon Drake was running with some passion. He was running with some feeling, a sense of urgency that he has to make an impact. And it's tough because you know what? With all the competition on this running back room, Amir Abdullah's stock rising, it's making it much harder for Kenyon Drake. And sometimes when you're rolling with that second string and third string offensive line, you can't always make the greatest plays because they just straight up don't allow you to. And a tough time for Jordan Jenkins, who was injured during the game. We'll have to have an update this week onto what is happening with Jordan Jenkins, highly touted late free agent signing after being released by the Houston Texans. Houston Texans had released Jordan Jenkins quite early in this preseason world just to give him a shot to play on a great team because they really respect him as a player. And it sucks to see his right knee kind of get a little messed up in this game. Hopefully he can bounce back. This was an interesting preseason matchup where you saw a lot of the bottom half of the depth chart. Who did not play tells you a little bit more about who's actually really ahead in this Raiders depth chart. Let me know what your starting 53-man roster will be this year. My name is WiFiWillie. Make sure you like this video if you haven't already and subscribe to the Raiders Rundown for more Raiders content. Peace out, and I hope you have a good one.